In this lesson we're going to take a look at square roots. Now square roots come with this symbol right here. You're going to have the square root of any number, and say we had the square root of 4. Well, what we're looking for is what number times itself, so in other words squared, is equal to 4, is what the square root means. Okay, so in this situation it's 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, so that means the square root of 4 is equal to 2. Okay, so it's the backwards way of looking at, like 2 squared is 4. It's saying, okay, get rid of the square, what was that number? And the number was 2. Okay, so that's what square roots do. So let's look at a couple examples here. Square root of 36 then would be, what squared is 36? The answer is 6. If I do 6 times 6, I get 36. So here the answer is 6. Square root of 0. Well, there's only one number that when you multiply by itself is 0, and that is still 0. Now when it comes to the square root of a fraction, what you want to do is actually rewrite it to be the square root of the top number divided by the square root of the bottom number. So this really comes down to what's the square root of 9, which is 3, and then over what's the square root of 16, which is 4. So the answer is 3 over 4. Now a quick conversation about, maybe you've heard before that whenever you have a square root of some number like 4, you would have gotten the plus or minus 2. Maybe you heard before that you get two answers, the positive and negative. That's because negative 2, when I square it, gives you 4, and 2, when I square it, also gives you 4. So yes, it's a valid answer, but when this lab and this book is talking about square roots, they'll give you positives and they'll give you negatives. So for example, they're assuming there's a plus sign out in front of the square root of 36, so that means we only want the positive answer. Yes, there is a negative 6 that also works, but we're only looking for the positive answer. So we'll take a look in these next examples of what happens when we have negative square roots. Okay, so here's 3 more square roots. This first one, you can see the square root has a negative sign on the outside, so what they're looking for is for you to come up with 10 and then to put a negative in front of it so that the answer is negative 10. In other words, it's wanting the negative part of the answer rather than the positive 10, as compared to square root of 100 is just 10. Now down here, when you see the square root of a negative on the inside, well, now we're coming up with a problem because there's no number that if I take it and raise it to the second power, I get negative 100. In other words, I can't take 10 times 10 and get negative 100, and so I can't do negative 10 times negative 10 to get negative 100. They both equal positive 100. So there's no way to make a negative number by squaring another number, because anytime you square a number, it results in a positive answer. So anytime you see a negative inside of the square root, you have to say no solution. Now sometimes we'll see problems that have square roots of decimals, and in this problem what we have to work through is that you look at the number on the inside and think about what is its square root, and the square root of 16 is 4. So what we need to just realize is that there's 2 decimal places, so that's going to make it where the product would have been 0.4 times 0.4, which gives us 16, and then we move the decimal place over 2 places to get 0.16. So when you have square roots of decimals, you still look at the number and think what's its square root, and then you just have to add a decimal in there based on how many decimal places you have in the solution. So our answer here is still 0.4.